If you're a woman over 40 who's even lingered 3 seconds too long on one of those bikini ready in 30 days posts, hang on tight because the algorithm sees you. And it knows January is right around the corner. Which means if you've been scrolling for fat loss content for your 2026 transformation, your feed is about to explode with all of those new year, new you promises, each one claiming that you'll lose 20 pounds in 30 days with the easiest plan ever. But here's the brutal truth. Those are the exact plans keeping you stuck in the same exhausting cycle year after year. Because while every influencer is gearing up to launch another 30-day fat melting challenge, the only plan that ever worked for me, the one that helped me lose 50 pounds over 40 and actually keep it off, was doing the exact opposite of what they all say. As someone who now eats up to 2,400 calories while effortlessly maintaining my weight, I can tell you the too slow approach that most dieters would never even consider ended up being the fastest approach that I ever tried. Instead of starving my way through every quick fix only to fall off track months later and regain every pound, I finally realized that slow and steady really does win the fat loss race. So in this video, I'll show you the method that finally worked, plus the 2 simple habits that make fat loss effortless, at least once you understand them. But first, here's what's really messing with your head about fat loss over 40. You still think you have to suffer for results. So you slash calories to 1,200, ban carbs completely, and grind your way through endless cardio. And even though you're exhausted, cranky, and you would give anything just to eat an apple, somehow your scale still goes up. What if I told you the reason that you can't lose weight isn't because you're not trying hard enough, but because you're actually trying way too hard? What took me decades to learn is that extreme diets are the worst possible fat loss strategy, at least if you want results that last. And once you understand this, you will never fall for another lose 25 pounds in under 30 days promise again. When you slash daily calories by 1,000 or more while piling on cardio, you think that you're creating the massive deficit that'll melt fat week after week. But your body doesn't know that you're just trying to fit back into your college jeans that happen to be back in style. It thinks you're in a famine. So it slams the brakes on your metabolism, assuring most of the weight you lose isn't fat. For every 10 pounds you drop with these extreme plans, which is any plan that promises you'll lose more than 1 to 2 pounds each week, only 3 or 4 of those pounds is actual fat. The rest is mostly water or even muscle, which is what keeps your metabolism and your body strong as you age. That's why 80 to 90% of people who lose weight quickly regain every pound plus some. Whenever you diet too aggressively, you lose muscle. When you lose muscle, your metabolism slows. So even though your scale is lower, your body's now burning 200 to 300 fewer calories each day just existing. And that's exactly what destroys the big deficit that you thought you were in, all but guaranteeing a weight loss stall. This is the same cycle that I was stuck in for decades. I was gaining weight eating only 1,500 calories. That's because my metabolism was so wrecked from years of low carb, low calorie, low everything diets. And every time I tried cutting even lower to get my scale to move, I'd end up binging by the weekend. And this got me right back into that same restrict and binge cycle that kept me stuck for decades. But here's where things get interesting, especially since this goes against everything you've ever learned about weight loss. The women who are successful with weight loss over 40, since they learn how to actually keep it off, they're not following these extreme plans. They're doing something that sounds completely backwards, which is eating more to lose weight. And when I say more, I'm talking about both more food as well as more calories. Let me show you the science behind why eating more actually helps you lose fat faster than starving yourself. Once you stop crash dieting and start eating in a moderate deficit, just 300 to 500 calories below your maintenance, your body finally gets on the same page. Your metabolism stays strong since now your body doesn't panic thinking that it's starving. Sure, your results will be slower, but this time you get results that stick. When you eat enough food, especially enough protein, you'll have energy for the one thing that actually transforms your body over 40. And in case you're still stuck in that, I'll just cardio my way to my goal mindset, I promise you that is not the answer. But strength training is, which is one of the most essential parts of fat loss over 40. Now, if you're thinking, wait, how is building muscle essential when I have lost weight plenty of times in the past, but I've never lifted a weight in my life? Exactly. Because if you're anything like me, you lost the weight only to regain every pound, and then you blamed your broken metabolism. But you were never broken. The quick fix plans that you've been following up until this point are what's broken. This strategy works since muscle burns 3 times more calories than fat, even while you sleep. When you build muscle while losing fat, which can only happen when you eat enough protein while in a moderate calorie deficit, you're building a faster metabolism instead of slowing yours down like what happens with most diets. That's how I went from struggling to lose weight while eating 1,500 calories to losing 50 pounds eating 2,000 and maintaining that loss on close to 2,400 calories a day. Yes, I could eat as much as most men while still maintaining a girlish figure. But as amazing as this eat more, move more approach sounds, which breaks almost every diet rule you've ever followed, most people won't get results. But that's only because this strategy requires the one thing that most women refuse to give, which is patience. When you finally lose weight the right way, which requires eating in a moderate deficit, prioritizing protein, and lifting weights 2 to 3 times each week, you might only lose 1 pound per week. In some weeks, your scale might not move at all. But the women who keep going, no matter how slow it feels, not only achieve their goals, but they're also the ones who actually keep it off. When I set out to lose 50 pounds, I thought 6 months of discipline would work. But once I learned that sustainable fat loss actually takes way longer, I was fine with taking a year or more, since this time I wasn't in it just for a smaller body. This time, I wanted to build a solid lifestyle. That's when I finally stopped living in diet prison and instead started building habits that I could actually keep up. But if you're wondering how to make this work for you, starting out, all you need to do is focus on 2 simple habits. The first habit is tracking your macros, but the key here is you only need to pay attention to 2 numbers: calories and protein. While it is important to eat enough fat in order to keep your hormones optimized, the main 2 numbers you need to target is to stay at or slightly below your calorie deficit while working on hitting your protein goal. And really, that's it. If you want to build a sustainable fat loss plan, you have to forget about complicated meal plans or cutting out entire food groups. Just eat in a moderate calorie deficit while aiming for about 1 gram of protein per pound of your target goal weight. The second habit is building your metabolism up by strength training 2 to 3 days each week. Instead of your fat loss strategy including hours of cardio, your main focus should be building muscle with 2 to 3 full body workouts every week. But that doesn't mean that you should hop into one of those group classes where you're lifting 5-pound dumbbells until your arms fall off. If you want to build muscle, you need to follow traditional strength training with an emphasis on progressive overload. This typically means 45 to 60 minutes of the basic compound lifts, aiming to get just a little bit stronger every week. That's what's required to build the muscle that keeps your metabolism strong. Let me break down why these 2 habits are so powerful, especially since there's actual science behind this that most influencers completely ignore. First, let's talk about protein. There are plenty of reasons that eating more protein makes it way easier to lose weight. My favorite reason is when you eat protein, your body burns 20 to 30% of those calories just digesting it. Compare that to fat, which only burns 2 to 4%. So if you eat 500 calories worth of protein versus 500 calories worth of fat, your body effectively only counts 350 to 400 of those protein calories. That's up to 150 calories burned automatically just from choosing protein. That alone gets you at least a third of the way to an effective daily deficit, and you haven't cut 1 calorie. You just swap them. But it gets even better since eating more protein also helps you build muscle as long as you follow through with strength training. Even though on the surface you may look at the calories that you burn during your workout and think, wait, I only burned 200 calories in an hour? Screw that, I'm going back to cardio. Yeah, I used to think that too, until I learned what actually matters. When you're comparing which workout works better for your long term goals, you have to think about more than just how many calories burned during your workout. Because with cardio, once the workout's done, so is your calorie burn. With strength training, building more muscle helps you burn calories 24/7, even while you're sleeping. It's completely worth the effort since for every pound of muscle you build, you're burning an extra 6 to 10 calories a day just existing. When you compare that to every pound of fat on your body that you are desperate to get rid of, that only burns around 2 calories per pound. And sure, none of that sounds like a huge difference, at least until you zoom out and look at what that adds up to for over a full year. Plus, when you keep building muscle year after year, you keep building a stronger metabolism right along with it. But there's one more piece that most women completely overlook and get completely wrong. The move more part of the eat more, move more approach has nothing to do with spending hours at the gym. It's about moving more throughout your entire day. When you look at the science behind how your body burns calories, there's 4 main contributors. Number 1, basal metabolic rate, which is around 70% of your daily burn. Number 2, formal exercise, which is only about 5%. Number 3, the thermic effect of food, roughly 10%. And number 4, non-exercise movement, also called NEAT, which is all of the little movements that you do all day, making up around 15%. And while NEAT technically only includes things like tapping your foot or getting up to use the bathroom, fat loss doesn't care about technicalities. This is why you need to pay attention to your step count whenever you're in a calorie deficit. Because the second you drop calories, your body fights back by subconsciously moving less. So now you have to fight back against that by being more intentional, doing things like parking further away, taking the stairs instead of the elevator, or even by getting a walking pad so you can walk while writing your YouTube scripts, which you're probably not doing. But you can walk while doing things like answering emails, watching your favorite TV show, or even while watching more of my videos so you finally understand how fat loss works. But there's one thing that can sabotage everything, and most women over 40 sabotage themselves every single night, which is not getting enough quality sleep. One study showed that when people cut back on sleep for just 2 weeks, fat loss dropped by 50%, even with everything else staying equal. Poor sleep cranks up cortisol, makes you crave junk food, and destroys the energy that you need for all of those muscle building workouts. This combination, a moderate calorie deficit where you prioritize protein, strength training, daily movement, and sleep, that's exactly how I went from yo-yo dieting for 30 years to losing 50 pounds while eating more and maintaining that loss for over 3 years. It's how I can eat takeout with my family every Friday night without gaining weight, and how I have more energy at 46 than I did at 36. And the best part is, once these become habits, none of it feels like work. It just feels like who you are. I know none of this is what you want to hear since you're still hoping to lose 30 pounds by Valentine's Day. But if you're done with the yo-yo cycle for good and you want a plan that comes with lasting results, this is exactly how you do it. You can eat more while losing weight, and I have plenty of videos on my channel that show you exactly how. Plus, I can personalize a plan that finally works for you. I'll link that in the pinned comment. If you're ready to make 2026 the year that you focus on building yourself up instead of always searching for new plans that just keep tearing you down, watch this video next. Because you deserve to reach your goal weight without completely losing your mind, and you definitely deserve to eat way more than 1,200 calories while doing it.